To anyone that's wondering, yes, I'm Asian. But don't worry, that doesn't mean I'm anything special. Apart from the fact that I'm obviously brilliant at math, awesome at video games, and possess the ability to turn Super Saiyan whenever someone steals my Dragon Balls. But outside of all that superficial stuff, I'm just your ordinary, relatable gamer nerd. And as most of you already know, gamer nerds can be a particularly needy group of people, whose constant trolling and rioting tendencies are only quelled via the release of new video games. So let's see what the internet has got for us this week to distract us from the inevitable societal collapse for another month. SIFU is a third-person fighting game developed by indie studio Slowcap, a French team who previously gave us Absolver. Our protagonist is a young Chinese disciple learning the ways of martial arts when one night, Yang, a disgraced former student of the school, returns with his gang of villainous henchmen to exact his revenge on your Sifu and father. The ensuing fight results in the premature retirement and death of anyone not wearing a name tag, as well as your Sifu. However, lucky for you, the assailants fail to notice that you are the player character, the stupid sods, and thus were unable to finish you off given how you're the protagonist, and as such happens to be protected by good old-fashioned plot armor. I mean protected by a special talisman that wards against death. Regardless of the medical reasons, you awake from your near-death experience and is thrown into a quest of bitter revenge. And as someone who personally grew up watching a lot of old-school martial arts and samurai movies, this kind of shit just happens to be a guilty pleasure of mine. The main feature of Sifu is that instead of dying every time your health drops to 0, you return to life having aged a year. And so I immediately set out to beat the game as a cranky 100-year-old lady. It turns out, unfortunately, that there is a max age of 70 before the game decides that you've dropped the ball one too many times and hits you with the game over screen. Damn it, Slowclap. Some of us just can't help but close our eyes and button mash whenever things get too hectic. Couldn't you have just given me a bad grade and a smack on the bum Bayonetta style? I mean, come on. Haven't you guys seen the movie Kill Bill? I've got at least 20 good years to get my revenge on these no-good, troublemaking youngsters. Joking aside, the aging mechanic doesn't really impact gameplay very much, and it really is just a 50 or so life system, which is plenty generous even for a lifelong button masher like myself. The combat is very fast-paced and comparable to an old-school arcade game like Tekken, which can be quite challenging to get the hang of at first, as most of your attacks involve inputting 3 or 4 button combos, which are a little too complex for you to just mash out randomly. This is only made harder given that you frequently have to face large mobs of enemies, meaning that you have to keep an eye out on the entire room while also having to remember your button combinations. And as this game is set in China, you just know that even the local grocery boys are capable of karate chopping off a third of your health given just 1 second of inattention. However, despite all said, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. As mentioned earlier, you are given a very generous amount of lives, and games like this are designed for you to die a certain number of times. You also don't have to stress about restarting from a previous checkpoint or anything, as the game just lets you pick up right from where you fell, feeling as fresh as ever and with about a year's worth of extra facial hair. The boss designs are all quite unique, ranging from a machete-wielding pothead to a wealthy businesswoman inspiring to be Batman. Each boss fight requires you to master a new set of tactics, making them feel like a satisfying milestone as you muscle your way through the story, learning new moves on your way towards your final opponent. And as an added surprise upon beating the final boss, the game reveals to you that in fact your Sifu was apparently a bit of a selfish prick, as he refused to let Yang borrow his favorite toy. I mean, give the guy a break already. All he wanted was to use the silly talisman to save his wife and kid. I mean, the guy literally built a hospital during the time after the attack. The game even went as far to suggest that Yang had been the one who had placed a piece of talisman in your hands to spare your life. Which is why I was so delighted when the game suggested that I play the story over again, only this time sparing each of the bosses. Now, was this just a shameless attempt to double the game's runtime? Well, maybe. But hey, at least the game respected my time enough to open a bunch of shortcuts directly to the boss areas, which was a welcome feature considering how many rooms of enemies normally stood between you and each of the bosses. Overall, I like Sifu. I personally don't mind replaying games if there is a point to it, and games like Sifu really did try to explore the themes of Wude by making you play it through twice to see both sides of the same coin. However, the one thing I did find very disappointing was the lack of costumes. Seriously fellas, I paid extra for the deluxe edition and all I got was a single outfit. Couldn't you have at least given me a Chun-Li Chi Pao or something equally hot? If anything, it would just motivate me to beat the game while still below the age of 30. And no people, I'm not trying to be naughty here. I'm just trying to appreciate traditional Asian culture, okay? Now if you excuse me, I need a moment alone with my computer.